The number 5 starter looks like it's coming up all Rhett Lowder. We'll tell you why on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, I'm Jeff Carr. Steve Offenbaker will be along with me shortly, and today's Locked On Reds is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBTHE.show/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Pre-order now, available March 17th on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. It's rated E for everyone. Stay tuned later on in this episode for our MLB Top 100 highlight. On today's podcast, a little bit later on, we'll tell you a couple of interesting highlights about opening day that you should look out for. Dane Myers against right-handed pitchers? No, not yet. Let's calm down on that. In just a few minutes, we'll still pick more bones with the organization about this whole Hunter Greene injury because Steve is still mad. But we will begin with the number 5 spot in the rotation as we head toward opening day.
This from Steve Irvine. Is Lowder or Williamson your number 5 starter, Jeff Carr?
Right now it's Lowder. I think he's got more upside. I think both guys have pitched fine this spring training. Nobody has shown anything that I'm like, he can't locate his pitches at all. And so for me, it seems to me that Rhett Lowder's 100% healthy. And had Hunter Greene been healthy, then I would have been fine with them saying, all right, Rhett Lowder, have a couple of games down in AAA and get ready to go. And be ready to go. But now I think the Reds can afford to put him on the opening day roster at the 5th spot because it's the same deal with Brandon Williamson. Like, that's the other part about this. People keep talking about, well, Rhett Lowder might need some time because he didn't pitch at all last year. Might need some time in AAA. Well, if that's the case, then so does Brandon Williamson because
that's the unfortunate. That's the unfortunate thing is that Williamson and Lowder ended up on the same exact timeline. I really want Brandon Williamson to get some opportunities, and he will this season. But it's really unfortunate that they both hit spring training ready to battle for a spot because they're both going to have innings limitations on them that would work perfectly if they weren't lined up time-wise. If one person was delayed further than the other, you could go front half of the season with one, back half of the season with the other, and that would have been perfect for this Cincinnati Reds team. That's not the case. I think I'm with you. I think I give the edge to Rhett Lowder right now, but I really want to see what Brandon Williamson can do because I think that he showed a lot of promise, a lot of potential in spite of being completely mismanaged by David Bell. So, I want to see Brandon Williamson in the Tito Francona era and see how he does. But I think I'm with you. I think I'm leaning Lowder.
But I think too, like Brandon Williamson is going to afford you the ability to keep both Burns and Lowder fresh throughout the season because it's kind of like you talked about, was it last week? It was like a week or so ago when we talked about, okay, one turn through the rotation and then next turn through skip Burns, then the turn after that through skip Lowder, and then just kind of alternate them. And then when you skip those guys, you put in Brandon Williamson. And so he's getting almost a turn through the rotation every 5th day, but he's not sitting on that rotation the whole time because I think you could play, well, no, because then you need the 10-day thing. I don't know. There's something
you can go like every second. There's a way to do it. I know there's the 10-day limitation unless there's an injury. So you could even skip those guys a turn a month and kind of play a back and forth game. There's lots you could do. There's lots of things you could do. Just for a little fun throw in here, Jeff, you've created a problem because you have an inability. You have an inability. You are good at that. You have an inability to, not talk about food as we're doing things. So you made Chad go buy a donut. I want you to know. And now
where from, Chad? Where from?
Scott Campbell wants to know, what does your at-home opening day spread look like? Are you doing at-home fry box if you're not down at the ballpark, Jeff Carr?
So the last time I missed opening day, I was living in Georgia, and I still was able to go to a Kroger and get some canned Skyline. So I made some homemade conies, and then I had a nice cold beverage. But yeah, I would make like some homemade Skyline thing, and whether it's dip or whether it's a 3-way or whether it's conies or whatever. And then I would enjoy opening day that way. Because it's a little bit of a Cincinnati thing where it's just like, yeah, I feel like it's kind of what you have to do. Because I think a lot of folks would say, well, you could go out big. Like, I mean, I love to do like a pulled pork or, brisket or something like that. But when it comes to opening day, I want Skyline.
Ben thinks that TJ Friedl is going to be a little more effective with some more rest days. I think this whole team is going to be better with a little bit better utilization of days off and times at DH, right? I think they haven't quite got that right especially last season. So I look for them to be better at that this year.
I think if you were to lay out the offseason beforehand and say exactly what they need, we'd say Big Bopper in the middle of the lineup, some bullpen help, and some bench help. And that's exactly what they did. Might not have been Kyle Schwarber, but it was Eugenio Suarez. And whenever they signed JJ Bleday and whenever they traded for Dane Myers, Nick Krall said that these are upside plays. Upside plays sit on your bench, and then you pull them in whenever you need to. And Nathaniel Lowe, then of course being a late off season, like fell in your lap, lucky strike sort of deal. Like, I love the fact that they ended up getting him because I really feel good about the Cincinnati Reds bench and how they're going to be able to manipulate the roster and give guys off days. Because you're right. Like last season, we kept hearing things like, well, he's dealing with this, he's dealing with that, he's dealing with this. But because we don't have any depth, he's got to play. Spencer Steer had to play. Otherwise, I don't know who they were calling on you to be like the opening day DH or something like that. That's not the way it is this year. Not the way it is this year. And Nick Krall deserves a lot of credit for that.
Should they keep Williamson as a long man swing starter in a Nick Martinez role? We've talked about this. One, I'm not sure there's room for this in the bullpen, given everything that's going on and the guys that they picked up. But also, I would much rather them bring Williamson. If he's not going to be in the big league starting rotation, I want to see him in the starting rotation in Louisville, going through the routines, doing the things. I don't know about putting the stress on his arm right out of the gate that, okay, today you're relieving, tomorrow you're starting. Nick Martinez was a little bit of a modern day aberration. I know pitchers used to work that way a lot, not so much anymore. They just don't use pitchers that way very often anymore. So whoever the odd man out of the rotation is, I want them in Louisville ready to go to be the next man up, really.
I agree because I want him to make sure that he's stretched out. 6 innings won't be an issue for him, which it weren't for Nick Martinez. But like you said, Nick Martinez is pretty rare. Like, I don't think there's too many guys in the league that could do what he did. Like that stretch last year, 10 days where he pitched in 4 games, and the fourth one was a complete or 1 out away from a complete game no-hitter. But I think that when it comes to Brandon Williamson, I would take that question and I would evolve it a little bit, because there have been some questions raised about Connor Phillips, because Connor Phillips' control has been erratic once again this spring. And of course, Zach Maxwell, Luis May are firmly within that category. Sam Maul walked 3 guys yesterday. And so there's some questions, and there's definitely been some really good performances from TJ Antone. So there's some questions. Could he make the opening day roster? Let me throw it to you this way, Steve. Would you rather, knowing everything you know about the guys that he would pass up, would you rather TJ Antone get the last bullpen spot, or would you rather them do this thing with Brandon Williamson?
Natty Boy was reading your mind. He was asking, are there any real expectations for TJ Antone? Who are my choices, Antone or who?
So it's Antone, or you do the Nick Martinez thing with Brandon Williamson.
No, Antone, because
okay.
Look, I want to see TJ Antone back at the big league level. I think he still has really, really good stuff. And here's the thing. Brandon Williamson can go down to AAA. He can start, his scheduled starts. He can be ready for the next time there's an opportunity in the rotation. What I don't know is how long TJ Antone's going to hold up. That arm has been through a lot. He's now 3 Tommy Johns in to this big league career of his. Does that hold up for an entire series? Does that hold an entire season? I don't know. But while he's healthy and decent and his stuff plays, use him in the bullpen. Let's talk about Julian Aguiar a little bit, because we keep Pierre's saying, he thinks he's on the horizon to help this season too. When do you get to Julian Aguiar? Because if Brandon Williamson is your first man up, your next guy, is it Chase Petty then, or is it Julian Aguiar? I think it's Chase Petty, just from a Aguiar coming off of injury standpoint.
Yeah,
I think it's Chase Petty.
He's definitely got higher upside. I have no doubt about that. I wonder though, because we know Terry Francona loves himself some experience, and obviously Aguiar has more, not a lot more, but a little bit. So I think that there could be an Aguiar over Petty in a pinch, but maybe if it's something that is planned more, because they did this to Petty last year in a pinch and it was bad. They did him no favors by calling him up last second and throwing him in the rotation, and he just got destroyed. So if that's something that they can kind of plan out a little bit more, I think they would prefer to do Petty. If it's a last second need, I think it's Aguiar. And I think it's more than likely that if you're getting down to that point, it's probably last second. So I think that Aguiar comes up first, and then they go to Petty. If maybe like Aguiar comes up in a pinch and doesn't work out, and they're like, okay, you know what? Let's give Chase Petty another shot here. Not to say that I don't think Chase Petty deserves it, because we talked about him as being one of the reasons why you could play with the innings limits on Chase Burns and Rhett Lowder and be fine all throughout the season. And then, of course, the return of Hunter Greene in July, like there's going to be some use for Chase Petty, Julian Aguiar. And I even think Jose Franco could get into like a game or two this year. But I just don't think that it's going to be – there's not going to be a long runway before they make that decision. It's going to be an emergency bit for one of those two. Steve still has a bone to pick about this Hunter Greene injury. We'll do that next. But first, I want to tell you about today's Locked On MLB Top 100 highlight, brought to you by PlayStation and MLB The Show 26, where you can get in and play with all of your favorite players like Hunter Greene, where he won't be hurt to begin the season. And actually, Hunter Greene checked in at number 43 in our Locked On MLB Top 100 list this year. And initially, I thought, man, he's going to shoot up these rankings. He's going to have an amazing season. I think I even said the words. He was going to have like 27 or 28 starts. Yeah, that didn't age really well. That didn't work out so well. But he could still be super valuable coming in the second half of the season and could still shoot up the list at least a little bit. But at number 43 on the Locked On MLB Top 100 list, he's the second Red on that list, and you can play with him, Ellie, Andrew Rabbit, Nick Lodolo, Eugenio Suarez, and everybody else over on MLB The Show 26. You can pre-order now through March 17th. It's available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and X, and Nintendo Switch. Also, you can get a awesome Locked On pack to use in Diamond Dynasty. Go to mlbthe.show/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to get that pack today. MLB The Show 26 is rated E for everyone. It's conference tournament time right now in college basketball, and FanDuel has got you covered for the best way to play when it comes to any conference tournament game. They've got the college basketball same game parlay profit boost. You got to check these out because it's going to take your picks and make them even more valuable. Of course, you can also check out the MLB futures because right now everyone's going insane when it comes to the Cincinnati Reds. They've knocked them down. They were at 82.5 when it comes to over-under for season total wins. Now they're at 80.5 for season total wins. Smash that over. I cannot even believe that they knocked them down this much. This feels like free money. Head on over to FanDuel right now. Hit 80.5 over on the total wins for the Cincinnati Reds in 2026. And check out all of the great profit boosts for your parlays for college basketball. That's all over on FanDuel. They're the official sports book of Locked On.
Has Hunter Greene ever talked about changing his routine to become less prone to ending up on the IL? You know, I'm not done being frustrated with this Hunter Greene situation, and I'm you know what? I'm going to talk about it again because Steve. No, you're going to let me do this. I am, I want accountability. And I know you guys leaned in on the show yesterday. Accountability was the theme of the day. I'm still mad. And the more I think about it, the more mad I get because I want to know who to be mad at. The doctors agreed with each other. So they've got a little cover there. Tito saying, I didn't know anything. Hunter Greene saying, I was trying to power through this thing. Somebody is responsible for this. And I want to believe that Hunter Greene was communicating with the team. And you leaned in a little bit on pointing a finger at the front office, saying that the front office is who got this wrong. I keep coming back to Hunter Greene, and I keep ending up in a place where I simply cannot understand how we got all the way into spring training and how we got all the way to Goodyear after this injection and not knowing that this elbow still hurt. I can't understand how we landed in a place where a guy throws a pitch and his elbow hurts, and then he doesn't throw a pitch and he says he feels better, and then he throws a pitch and he says his elbow hurts, and you expected some kind of different result. Yeah, his elbow hurts when he throws pitches. Like, I'm mad about this, and I keep getting more mad about it, Jeff, because I really feel like we got robbed of a very hot start and an opportunity to have a Hunter Greene in the rotation from jump. It really ticks me off.
So Steve Offenbaker with the theme of the last decade and a half. I want to know who to be mad at. When it comes to this who to be mad at. When it comes to this situation, though, like, I think the reason that I point the finger at the front office is it feels like there's too much assumed knowledge involved. They assumed that Hunter Greene would give them some sort of play-by-play throughout the offseason, that if it started to not feel great, he would let them know. But when it comes to the offseason, he is not doing what he does even in spring training, let alone the regular season, and putting that kind of stress on his elbow. So for me, they would have need to have controlled that a lot more than they did. It is clear that they got the report from Dr. Neil Elatrash at the end of October. The PRP injection went well. Looks like it's healing great. Boom. And it seems like, I don't know this for sure, but just reading how all of this has played out, it seems like they went, cool, well, see you at Goodyear. And they needed to do more than that. So that's why I keep putting the pressure back on them, albeit my question to you is, if we learned who to be mad at, then what?
Okay, that great question. Because if it's the doctors, Krimchek gets fired on the spot. If we can,
but not
but he's you did that to me yesterday too, and I didn't pick up on it. Krimchek is the first opinion, always, every time. And we keep going down the stinking road of guys being more injured than we're told, out longer than we're told, unavailable for more time than we're told. And everything, all roads lead back to Krimchek. So if you can show me that's where the ball got dropped, it's time to fire that guy. If it's Hunter Greene, then we have a reoccurrence of a problem once again where he is managing his own health, which fine, that's his right, but he's doing it poorly, and you can't rely on that guy. You can't count on him. If Hunter Greene is not going to take the team's advice and not going to take the advice of the experts and instead run things the way that he wants to run things, it's time to stop talking about him being the ace of our staff, the ace of our team, the guy that we're going to rely on in game one of a playoff series, because he's simply not reliable. If that's the answer. And if the answer is the front office, if the answer is that Hunter Greene in a moment of honesty went to Derek Johnson and said, hey boss, this elbow, something's wrong, and I'm going to pitch through it because we're trying to get to the postseason, but something's wrong. And if Derek Johnson really didn't walk right over to Terry Francona's office and tell Terry what was going on, then we've got a problem with our pitching coach. But I want accountability, and whoever that is, there needs to be real consequences, because I'm tired of this.
That bit does have me a little confused. Like we talked about yesterday, like Tito said, well, he told Derek Johnson, but I never heard about it. So you knew that he told Derek Johnson, but you also didn't know about this. I don't know what to make of that. I'm with you on there. That's definitely confusing, but it's odd because this is a key player. Some could argue the most key. But it's like it's Ellie and it's Hunter Greene. No matter what you say, those are the top two guys. And you can put them in any order you want, but those are the top two. And if something's going on with either one of them, then there needs to be transparency and there needs to be a sense of urgency that we've not seen, because they didn't have this with Ellie either, because Ellie's playing on one leg for 2 months. Like a little bit of this seems to link to that too. So that's where I keep coming back to the front. There's got to be somebody sit everybody down and just like, look, if it's something with them, it's, threat level midnight, and we're going to get this handled as soon as you can. And not this, well, they say they're okay. Like, no, we can't be doing that. There's got to be some control there.
Scott Campbell, Krimchek's been there since 1996. We've had these situations before. He's like Teflon. I kind of feel that way too. And there's another comment, if I can grab it real quick here.
I know that there are some not so great opinions of Elatrosh across the league.
Pierre says the Reds and Bengals docs are both atrocious. Both teams are just too loyal to a major fault keeping them. I agree. I agree with this. This is the same thing we see from Mike Brown, and I think it's a Cincinnati thing. Like I'm all for loyalty, and I'm a pretty loyal person myself. But there comes times, Jeff, when it's clear that an overhaul is needed. And the Reds overhauled the training and medical staff 2 or 3 years before David Bell was gone, like maybe 2 years before David Bell was gone.
Yes.
They overhauled things, but stopped short of replacing everyone, stopped short of getting a new guy and replacing Krimchek and doing all those things. They replaced a lot of the lower level guys and a lot of the hands-on dudes and gals. Problem seems to be at the top. And maybe it is time for a complete overhaul, fresh start, fresh eyes, somebody that's not 40 years out of medical school, that has the latest information on the most up-to-date training techniques, the most up-to-date healing processes. Medicine is constantly evolving. And maybe it's time to get a fresh start around here, because this injury stuff is driving me nuts, Jeff.
I remember that we talked about the fact that the training medical staff shuffled years ago. And to me, it feels like it's shuffled like when I try to shuffle cards. For those of you who don't know, I'm horrible at shuffling cards. I have tried. I don't know why. I can't figure this basic thing out, but I just can't shuffle cards very well. And there's a lot of times when I shuffle cards, we end up playing the same hand. And that's kind of what this feels like. Like we talked about this years ago that they shuffled, and it just looks like they just moved it around. Look, it's shuffled, and it's like, no, this is the same hand. Like, well, what's going on here? And I think you're right. I think there has to be more questions, and maybe that is the accountability that you're looking for.
And I would love to get, I'm sure most of the everydayers would hate the show, but I would love to get a nice surgeon on here to talk to me about why they went with the PRP injections in the first place. Because my understanding of how this whole Hunter Greene situation played out is they had an MRI in October, correct?
Yes.
Refresh me on the timeline. They had an MRI.
Yes. MRI in October, and that's what
it showed
they needed the PRP.
But it showed foreign bodies. It showed bone chips. It showed bone spurs.
Right.
PRP is usually like to expedite the healing process of tendons, of ligaments, of muscles. That doesn't take care of the foreign bodies. That doesn't eliminate the bone spurs. So I don't understand. And this is now played out in such a horrible way that there is mass confusion, and that almost feels intentional.
I think that would be an interesting episode. I think that I would be sitting here like that episode of The Office where they tried to teach Dwight to be very personable and like actually engage with someone in a conversation. I'd just be sitting here like,
so you're saying I would have to lead that episode is what you're telling me.
Yes. Dane Myers, everyday outfielder, pump the brakes. This is Jeff Carr from Locked On Reds. And I've reached the point in my life where my wife and I are looking toward the future. We've got the house, we've got the career, we even have an awesome dog, but now we need to secure that future. That's where Ethos comes in for us. When I look at this insurance or that insurance and I try to pick one, I might as well be reading an entirely different language. Ethos clears up the noise and gets me set up with exactly what I need, because Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, and it's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/lockedonmlb. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get a free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/lockedonmlb. That's ethos.com/lockedonmlb, ethos.com/lockedonmlb. Application times and rates may vary.
Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Sponsored Jobs. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to fill out your positions and to get through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of Locked On Reds can get $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get in front of the people that need to see it most, the candidates that you need right now. Just visit Indeed.com/podcast to get started. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show. Tell them Locked On Reds sent you, and you are going to get that $75 in credit. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Jeff, what are you thinking about Dane Myers against right-handed pitching? I know what you're thinking about Dane Myers against right-handed pitching.
No, not yet. Only if there's injuries and you absolutely must play him. That's the only way that I would do that.
Yeah,
I want him against lefties and nothing.
His sample size is big enough to, I think we already know what we need to know about him and his splits. And, you definitely want him out there against left-handed pitching. That definitely needs to be the thing. He will play center field every single time there's a left-hander starting against the Reds. I think, a Friedl, and I'm still not quite sure how that platoon is going to work, Jeff, because if you've got a left-handed pitcher and Dane Myers playing center field, your left fielder is going to be Spencer Steer against the left-handed pitcher. Your right fielder is going to be Noelvi Marte against the left-handed pitcher. So then when you get the right-handed pitcher back in there, Spencer Steer's still going to play. Friedl goes back into center field. So I guess we need to kind of start wrapping our head around the idea that TJ Friedl is going to be much more of a platoon player this year than he's been the everyday guy the last couple years in the leadoff spot.
I think that's why Dane Myers is here. Otherwise, I don't think they would have traded for him. But I think it was a good trade overall. But ultimately, there was a bit of humanness. There was a flipping of the splits, basically, because up until last season, TJ Friedl had reverse splits. He was better against lefties than he was against righties. But last year, it looked like most normal left-handed hitters where he struggled against left-handed pitching. And so I think that the Reds are not trying to wait around on that one. They are making sure that they have themselves covered in case that is who the real TJ Friedl is. And if that's the case, then Dane Myers is a perfect replacement for that. The other side of this too, I think about Dane Myers, I'm excited to see him and the value that he brings to this team this year, but I don't want to oversell it. And I don't want to get overhyped about it and think, yes, he deserves to be an everyday player right now. He's definitely got to prove that to me. And I think, because if you look at his contract status and all this other stuff, I think he's 29 years old this year, but he still has the kind of team control some of the Reds who were just called up last year has. That's because he's a late bloomer. And I think what happened was in the minor leagues, he had these extreme splits where he killed lefties, but he couldn't hit righties. And so when you're not an everyday ball player, you don't get the first, second, or third look. Like the Marlins gave him a look when they had to. And he showed him, yeah, buddy, I can smash lefties, but I kind of got a problem with righties. So it's understandable why he was, not super young and just being first called up. And it's kind of understandable why he was available to the Reds via trade this offseason. So I think that there is some excitement around Dane Myers, but we got to keep it tempered, because if we start playing him every day, it's going to be that Chris Heisey thing, right? Like we all think it could happen,
Yeah.
and it just ain't going to work out.
Yeah, you have to put, is this the first time I've got to say it this year? I think it is. You have to help players be in the best positions to be successful. And just because they're good at it might be
the first time this month.
Maybe this month, but it's the coaching staff has to help players be successful and resist the temptation that because a guy's doing smashing lefties, you think, well, he's going to hit righties, even though he never has. So I'm fine with the platoons. And listen, I know TJ Friedl did some cool things for a while, but he's getting a little older, and I think he's coming back to earth. And you want the most successful combination out there. And a straight platoon in center field those two combined in a straight platoon is a really good center fielder. I'll take that all season long.
And Dane Myers, for me, marks a change in this front office that we have begged for years. And that is that they have clear-eyed analysis. They're not looking at guys because they are popular and saying, yes, we will stick with these guys every single day. Because make no mistake about it, TJ Friedl's popular. But when you start to show that there is something about your game that needs to be paid attention to, the Reds are finally paying attention to it. And that's nice to see.
All right, fill us with something here, Jeff. There was a comment that went by. I'm not going to try and go find it, but you can speak to this a little bit. They're asking if we're going to do a show soon, pre-opening day, that kind of just talks about opening day and what's where and what the festivities look like and what people should be doing and where people should be at if it's their first opening day or they haven't been in Cincinnati for opening day in a while.
Definitely can do. I know that, if you want to see the parade, it's better, in my opinion, to be around, I'd say like around, not quite Fountain Square, because that's really where it ends, but just west of Fountain Square. You get like closer to those restaurants there on Vine Street. That's a good spot if you want to do the parade. If you want to avoid the parade, which is actually what I would do as somebody who's seen the parade, been in the parade, things like that. I'm not a big parade guy, but Finley Market Parade is awesome, but I'm not a big parade guy. I love going down to the banks, usually park across the river and then walk across the suspension bridge to the banks and either post up at a nice spot for a little bit, or you go see, whoever it is for WLW that's at Holy Grail. Kind of depends on what time of the morning you're there. It could be Lance, could be Mo. There's a lot of good things going on there. I know that Rheingeist uptown, if you're uptown more, Rheingeist has a really good opening day celebration that a lot of people talk highly of. But yeah, just a quick preview. I'll do some more like layouts and things like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time, gang, I'm missing opening day. Just so you all know, I'm not super happy about it, but I signed up for a triathlon, Jeff. So,
be working.
I may not be around after March. That may kill me. We'll find out together. But that's
Lava Man. So I'm
doing the Lava Man,
right?
I am doing the Lava Man the last weekend of March.
Go through a volcano. That's what you do.
God help us. But listen, I think that is probably a great spot to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Chad did weigh in. I'm not going to go find the comment. He had a Krispy Kreme donut.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Yeah. So that I may go get a donut now. Thanks as always for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We appreciate you so much. Go make your second listen. Locked On MLB in the audio feed. Sully's got you covered over there with Major League Baseball from a national perspective, talking about great things, telling funny stories. And also former Red Mike Stanton is in the Locked On MLB feed, talking about Major League Baseball from a player's perspective. Two great shows in the audio feed. Audio folks, go check it out. For the video folks, we will redirect you to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, where all of the experts of the Locked On network are talking ball 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to give you your sports fix. We'll send you over there in just a minute. Until next time, we'll keep gathering up all the news, the notes, the rumors, the reports, the information to keep you Locked On Reds every single day.
I see an apple fritter from Jupiter Donuts in my future. Maybe not now. I think they're closed.
That's the one by your house, right? That's so
good.
Yeah.
Jupiter Donuts.
That's so good.
Little free advertising there. Hope you guys like that. If you want to sponsor the show, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, really. No kidding. They can pay us in donuts.